While everyone, including myself, has become very skeptical of America's strategic Bitcoin reserve, I was really surprised this morning in how Scott Bessent reacted when he got grilled by my favorite politician, Brad Sherman, in this clip. Let's check it out. We'll break it down. I actually have a couple of clips for you guys, but we're going to start with the first one. Brad Sherman grilling Scott Bessent about the strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Bailouts of 2008, when powerful men lose money, they now want a government bailout. Does the Treasury Department or the various components of the FMOC have the authority to bail out Bitcoin?
Could you please elaborate? What exactly does bail out Bitcoin?
Okay, could you instruct the banks of this country to buy more Bitcoin, or change banking regulations so that they are encouraged to do so in terms of the reserves that they're otherwise required to have?
Again, that within the context of asset diversification within banks, they could hold many assets.
They can, and they're different, but do you have the authority to order banks to buy Bitcoin or to invest U.S. tax dollars in Bitcoin or Trump coin?
I am Secretary of the Treasury. I do not have the authority to do that, and as Chair of FSOC, I do not have that authority.
So we're not going to see our tax dollars invested in crypto assets?
Well, why would a private bank be your tax dollars, Congressman?
Excuse me, I'm now asking about the money of our taxpayers, which you manage as Secretary of the Treasury. Is it going to be deployed into crypto assets?
We are retaining seized Bitcoin.
That's not exactly taxpayer money. You collect a lot of taxes this month.
No, that is an asset of the U.S.
It's an asset of the U.S.
It was government.
Are you going to invest any?
And I will point out,
Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time. Are you going to invest?
The asset seizure, that $1 billion of Bitcoin was seized, $500 million was retained, and that $500 million has become over $15 billion.
Gentleman's time has expired.
All right, guys. You guys know. If you don't know, I am being sarcastic when I say that Brad Sherman is my favorite politician. I was actually trolling this morning with Luke, and I was like, man, you know, us Bitcoiners really need to be the Bitcoiners that Brad Sherman thinks we are. He's actually amazing. That's why I always say he's my favorite politician. But let me break this down first. I do have one more clip of Scott Bessent this morning getting, well, not necessarily getting grilled, but you know, he was making testimony in Congress this morning, as you guys can tell. The first question, I think it's fitting that Scott Bessent was so smug about it. The idea of bailing out in Bitcoin, a la the great financial crisis of 2008, it's not a concept that makes any sense once you understand how Bitcoin works. So I do find it actually kind of hilarious that that was the initial question to start this. Like, can you bail out banks in Bitcoin? The straight answer is no. There is no bailouts in Bitcoin. That's why we always say, you know, taking your first steps into Bitcoin and taking custody of your Bitcoin, it is a scary process because if you make mistakes, there is no rewind button. There is no customer service line to call to be like, hey, I made a mistake. This is why we always tell you guys to take it slow, make sure everything's backed up correctly, make sure you do some test transactions because there is no bailouts in Bitcoin. And this is why us Bitcoiners are so adamant about why we think Bitcoin will save the world, or rather is one of the main fixes of the world. Of course, fix the money, fix the world, is because in the world that we currently live in the world that we saw, you know, happen, the blow up we saw happen in 2008, they very easily were able to bail out all these banks that were, quote, too big to fail. And this is why we are in the position we currently are. So just to start off that clip, I was laughing behind the scenes. I was laughing when I saw this clip. Brad Sherman, like, bless his heart, he really is trying to make Bitcoin become this big bag boogeyman. It makes us all look like we're all criminals, that we're just here to, you know, loot the coffers, when in reality, what we're really trying to do here is implement some form of austerity on the federal government. The fact that they can print money, that's what's really the cause of most of our problems right now. It's not the only cause, but it is interesting that Brad Sherman is using this framing of like, it's a bad thing. You know, you guys are bad because you're embracing Bitcoin, because of the bailouts. You know, he does have this view that he's for the little guy. Of course, he's a Democrat, California, congressman, and as a exile from that state, you got to it's bless his heart, like I see what he's trying to do. For maybe the average person, when you see that clip, you're like, oh yeah, is there bailouts in Bitcoin? Oh yeah, great question. It really just doesn't make sense on the surface. Now, the second part, which I really wish we did get an answer, was the question that Brad Sherman asked. And again, I am a little trolly when I say that Brad Sherman is my favorite politician, but I personally would have loved to hear that answer. Obviously, for the last year, since Trump got elected, we've been hearing that they're going to figure out, quote, budget neutral ways to acquire more Bitcoin. Obviously, we've all been wondering, what exactly does that mean? We've got some clarity on what that actually means, and it does seem to be that the most friendly budget neutral way that the U.S. government is going to acquire Bitcoin is by asset forfeiture, which, as a Bitcoiner, as a hodler, as someone that doesn't really trust the state that much, that shouldn't really sit well with your stomach. Like, that shouldn't sit well with your gut. That's one of those things where it's like, oh man, they're literally going to 6102 all of the Bitcoin, and that's the only way they're going to acquire Bitcoin. So personally, I would have loved to hear Scott Bessent actually answer that question. So I am with Brad Sherman there with the frustration of like, that's not exactly the question that I asked. But okay. Now, the other kind of comments there, which were pretty funny, Scott Bessent, like, dude, what do you mean private banks using taxpayer money? Like, your line of questioning doesn't even make sense. And you saw Brad Sherman on his back foot there for a little bit. But to kind of wrap up this whole clip, in my mind, it does seem like we, as maybe Bitcoiners, us here on Simply Bitcoin, and my buddy Luke over on his channel, a lot of us Bitcoiners have been very skeptical of politicians in Bitcoin. You could say that Trump did deliver on all of his Bitcoin promises. You could also argue that not all of them have been fulfilled. Obviously, one of the main things that most Bitcoiners thought was going to happen with the strategic Bitcoin reserve was an infinite bid coming from the U.S. government. They're basically going to print money to buy Bitcoin. Now, that hasn't occurred. We still don't know if that is going to occur. As of now, it seems like it stands that the only way they are going to acquire more Bitcoin is not necessarily buying Bitcoin. And the only reason Bitcoiners want to see them buy Bitcoin is really for the precedent. It's really for the narrative of, hey, the U.S. government is buying Bitcoin, which sends ripples to everyone else who's like, you probably should be buying Bitcoin as well. And then, of course, with that narrative push, then everyone's like, who knows how high this is going to go. That's probably the main kind of idea from a lot of Bitcoiners, that, hey, if the U.S. government is buying Bitcoin, then that is probably the final domino from the nation state level of other countries actively buying Bitcoin. And if everyone is actively buying Bitcoin, then the mother of all supply shocks is on the horizon. The game theory kicks in, and you really only have one move, and that is to play. That is to acquire Bitcoin. I think that's why a lot of Bitcoiners got caught up in the strategic Bitcoin reserve wave. We're like, oh man, the world reserve currency, the world that has the world reserve currency is now adding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. The implications are huge for everyone around the world, for us holding it. I know there's a lot of contention around the idea of, I thought we were here for separation of money and state. You can go in, you can take this any route you want. Bitcoin is for anyone. Of course, nation states are going to want to acquire Bitcoin, yada, yada. You've heard me break this down if you watched the show before. Now, the interesting aspect to me, probably the biggest takeaway of this, besides kind of just like the funny, grilling interaction here, is that it does seem like Scott Bessent, again, U.S. Secretary Treasury or U.S. Treasury Secretary, I always get that mixed up. It does seem like he is very adamant and basically saying, if you read between the lines, that the strategic Bitcoin reserve was a good idea. And if that is the case, if we're starting to see more of that narrative build, then I think it does become this idea that Bitcoiners have been saying for a long time that, hey, look, the institutions are here finally. And if you start to get the signal and people start to get more accustomed to buying Bitcoin, to accumulating Bitcoin, to adding Bitcoin to their portfolio, then finally you'll start to see, again, a supply shock start to build, start to grow. That, hey, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. If Sailor's out here acquiring 1 million, if the US government is going to also acquire 1 million, like there's not that much Bitcoin to go around. The only thing that can really play out is that the number or the price of Bitcoin has to go up. Now, it is interesting, again, just the fact that he's like, look, we didn't sell the Bitcoin finally. We turned $500 million of Bitcoin into 15 billion. If we continue in this process, I know a lot of people have been saying that, hey, if they acquire enough Bitcoin, then they'll finally be able to pay off the national debt. In reality, I don't think people understand the underlying mechanics of this, because you literally can't pay off the national debt. Our currency, the US dollar, is literally debt. So if you pay off the debt, then the Ponzi scheme collapses. I think a lot of people forget that process of this. I know it sounds good. I know it's a good narrative. It's a good idea on paper. Hey, if you acquire enough Bitcoin, you can finally pay off your national debt. Everyone's been worrying about the national debt. We're at what, $38 trillion now? So fiscal monetary discipline has been one of these big topics recently. The US government is spending too much money. In many respects, you could say we are bankrupt. We can't pay our bills. We are basically living on borrowed time. We're living on credit. And this isn't sustainable moving into the future. Therefore, that's where, the Senator Lemons of the world come in mind. They're like, hey, if you acquire enough Bitcoin, you can finally pay off that debt. But the mechanics of fiat do not allow for you to actually pay off that debt. If you pay off the debt, then you erase the currency from the system. The money is debt. People forget the dollar is debt. You can't ever pay off the national debt, because then the Ponzi scheme really does collapse on itself. So they need to continue to perpetuate that debt. But if they're ever able to deflate the currency enough, then they could just print more money, of course, pay off their debt, essentially, or devalue their debt. And if you acquire Bitcoin on the back end, you have a good stash of Bitcoin, then at a certain point, maybe you do some kind of debt default, debt jubilee, and you just shift it over into Bitcoin. That's probably most likely how it's going to play out. But I think we are starting to see that the narrative around Bitcoin, for better or worse, they are pretty excited about it, or rather, maybe not excited about it, but it does seem like they really do believe in the Bitcoin play. Now, of course, they haven't done anything on it, but as I played for you yesterday, Trump is out here saying, like, I am the crypto guy. I am the Bitcoin guy. You guys should be, bowing down to me. I've done more for Bitcoin. So it's definitely a part of their campaign, a part of politics. I think it's only going to increase. I think political endorsements of Bitcoin will be one of those defining topics where if you are anti-Bitcoin, you're probably not going to get elected. If you are pro-Bitcoin, then you're literally going to gain political points, whether that's just, participation points, whatever. Again, as I've been saying, look, Trump isn't perfect. But I do believe that the idea of making the U.S. the Bitcoin superpower of the world, it is a strong political move. It is a smart move, in my opinion, as a Bitcoiner. So I think you're starting to see them. Maybe it is just narrative. Maybe it is a lot of just rhetoric around Bitcoin. But I think they're serious about it. Now, whether they can implement it, whether they will acquire more, we're still up in the air about that. I do find it interesting that he did skirt the question. I think there's some signal in that. Again, I would love for Scott Bessent to answer Brad Sherman on the question of whether they will actually buy Bitcoin. Obviously, it was framed in a negative way. Are you going to use taxpayers' money to buy Bitcoin? Every one of us wants to know this. Is the U.S. government going to be buying Bitcoin? Whether you like that idea or not, it will create shockwaves where everyone else will have to buy some Bitcoin as well. So also this morning, in the same, grilling testimony this morning by Scott Bessent, we got another clip coming out about the CBDCs. We got two updates. One about the strategic Bitcoin reserve that, hey, like, we think it's a good idea. We're totally behind it. We didn't really get some clarity on whether we're going to buy more Bitcoin, but at the same time, we got another update on the CBDC. So let me play that for you guys.
benefits of communist money. I appreciate you calling them out on that and rejecting it. And frankly, during the Biden administration, the Federal Reserve posted positions. They were literally recruiting developers to develop a central bank digital currency, including, a quote, senior crypto architect role dedicated to CBDC development. Are you aware of any ongoing government or Federal Reserve efforts to develop a U.S. central bank digital currency?
Within the administration, absolutely not. President Trump has made it clear that a central bank digital currency is anathema to the creation of the U.S. as a digital powerhouse. I can't speak for what goes on at the Fed, but I would assume that they would not be part of that either.
Yeah, I hope so, because not only has the president been clear on that, he issued an executive order on it and said that we will not develop a central bank digital currency. And then, of course, that applies to the whole executive branch. Does that mean it applies to the Federal Reserve?
I would say that the Federal Reserve has been very cooperative in terms of the regulation, and they're a bit of forward thinking with the Genius Act, what's happening with stable coins, how that fits within the financial and the payment system.
Yeah, I think that approach clearly contrasts with what really China has been working on, is essentially managed, basically programmable money by the federal government. And frankly, they're working on it with the Bank of International Settlement, with the European Central Bank, the Bank of England. Mark Carney seems to be a fan of it. And they're all collaborating to basically develop communist money and impose it on their populations. And it seems like you have a different hope for the future. So as you lay that out, would love to work with you on the future of money. I really think it's going to shape the future of Western civilization.
I couldn't agree more with you, Congressman, and it's moving fast, and the U.S. has to keep the lead.
All right.
First of all, shouts out to Warren Davidson calling CBDCs communist money. I like that. That's some good memetics. Shouts out to Warren Davidson. If you don't know, Warren Davidson has been very pro Bitcoin. He has backed the plan for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. He's actually even pushed some, or at least tried to push forward some friendly taxing on Bitcoin. I think he's been one of the main voices on de minimis tax on Bitcoin. Basically, no taxes under a certain threshold so that you can actually use Bitcoin. So Warren Davidson, I think, has been super solid. I really wish he probably had a little more clout, a little more influence in his position. Maybe he's still building up that reputation, but he's been, I think, a pretty good really good advocate. I'm gonna double down. I like Warren Davidson. Dude, communist money, CBDC is communist money. That's a great meme. So I think this is two sides of the same coin. Obviously, they did talk about stablecoin, so you could say they don't need a CBDC if they're all making, their own private stablecoin. So but that's a totally other rabbit hole. I've hit on that multiple times on the show. But I think this is, again, two sides of the same coin. As Scott Bessent said, hey, we are essentially very serious on being a digital money powerhouse. And I know everyone, or actually my boy Jim Johnson on Rumble, is like, they want to turn all money digital, bro. I only use cash, bruh. Yeah, dude, money is already digital. I get it. You got dollars. That's cool. Money's already digital. Everything's already digital. Your money in a bank is literally digital money. Yes, there's a physical representation, but all money's digital. That's where the world's going. Everything's going digital. But the choice is, do you want freedom money, Bitcoin, or do you want communist money, CBDC communist money, fully controlled money that they can shut you out of? And so again, what I heard from this is essentially that they are very serious about the rhetoric, the memetics of being the quote unquote Bitcoin superpower of the world. Trump, whether you love him or not, whether you want to call him a politician and say politicians lie, it seems like they are very adamant on this idea that, yes, we do want to be crypto friendly in whatever manner that means. And I say crypto very specifically. because that is, Bitcoin and stable coins. And they do want to try to maintain that power. And you've heard this rhetoric for the last couple of weeks, this idea of if we don't do it, China will do it. China has been the big scapegoat, the big boogeyman, and it has been used a lot. I think maybe even to a point where it doesn't have the weight that it used to have, but that is the game. If the US doesn't do this correctly, and another country that is trying to rival the power of the US does it correctly, then capital will flow out of the US. That's the game. They understand the game. And I've been very adamant about this on the show for months, for over a year, that we can no longer say as Bitcoiners that the people in power, the powers that be, do not understand Bitcoin. I think they very clearly understand Bitcoin. They very clearly understand the stakes. They very clearly understand what game is being played and how it should be played. Now, will they make the right moves? Obviously, who knows? Further, do we have to actually believe them or trust that they will do this? Not really. All you got to do is buy Bitcoin, take it into cold storage, or whatever wallet of choice you want to use. Make sure it's just a good wallet at the very least. That's all you got to do. Bitcoin is opt-out money. You just got to opt out of the system. You just got to get off zero. You just got to start stacking Bitcoin and securing that Bitcoin. And all of this stuff doesn't really matter, at least to the hardcore Bitcoiner. The reason I think it's important to keep talking about this is because these are setting the narratives that the average person hears. And for the last year or so, we've been hearing a lot of favorable, good things being said about Bitcoin. And I think slowly but surely, as that rhetoric starts to spread, as people start to get more maybe desensitized to this rhetoric, then they will start to see that, hey, I might actually want to be owning this Bitcoin thing. Now, right now is a strange time. Bitcoin is getting caught up in these file releases, and people are starting to throw their own FUD into this. And I do also believe that this is a coordinated attack on Bitcoin right now. I think all of this is working in conjunction. I think they're all working together. And it really makes me think that Wall Street, just, to put a label on it, I really think that they are trying to nuke the price. The elites, the powers that be, I really do think that they're trying to slow Bitcoin's momentum so that they can acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. And then eventually it's going to start ripping. That's kind of my general sentiment about this. Right now is not the time to be dumping your bags. Right now is not the time to, be like, I am okay with my Bitcoin stack. I think now is the time where you should be looking at the Bitcoin price on discount and being like, I need to figure out how to acquire more Bitcoin this month than I had last month. I need to continue to acquire Bitcoin. This is a game of accumulation. Don't let the narrative scare you. You need to continue to stack Bitcoin. I think we are seeing a prolonged, coordinated FUD campaign against Bitcoin. And, it does make you feel a little iffy. It does make you feel a little queasy. But all this stuff is just making me feel like, oh, man, of course they're going to continue to FUD Bitcoin. They're starting to make, gross names for Bitcoin now. I don't even think I can say it on the show, but you probably heard it. And all of this is just like, all right, FUD Bitcoin. I'm going to just stack more. It's on discount. Thank you very much. Thank you for the cheap sats. We'll see how long the cheap sats can continue. I like Bitcoin on discount. Okay. That's my stance on this. All right. Anyways, going further on the show. There was a good clip of Cathie Wood talking about Binance. I am going to kind of sort through the Binance conversation. There has been a lot of talk about Binance being FTX 2.0. I am going to go through some of that data. And then in the news, we're seeing the institutions continue to scoop. So, hey, maybe there is a FUD coordination happening around Bitcoin, but they still want Bitcoin exposure. Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. That is the winning move. And then we got John Chenot coming in a bit. and we're gonna talk about what he's been working on, which is I think very interesting for I don't know about Bitcoiners currently, but Bitcoiners in the future. Parallel Bitcoin economy is growing. All right, guys, I'll be right back, and let's talk about Binance.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Okay, so the current Bitcoin price is 72,620, bro. It's so over. It's so over, bros. We had a good run. Drop in the chat. How long is this mini bear market going to last? Are we going to be here for a year, or are we going back up by the end of the year? I want to see what you guys say in the chat. Anyways, this is a 42.4% discount from all-time high, and the market cap is $1.45 trillion. That's crazy. The block height, the most important time, rather the universal time, the only universal time on planet Earth, the block height is currently at 935,021. I repeat, 935,021. Okay, so Cathie Wood was on, what is this? Let me double check here. She was on, I believe, I don't know, it says public. I thought this was Bloomberg, but anyways, Cathie Wood made an appearance yesterday. And she is also, I would say, maybe adding some fuel to the Binance FUD. I don't know if it's FUD necessarily. This has actually been confirmed that the 1010 liquidation crash was caused by Binance. Here's Cathie Wood talking about it. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I was actually debating whether I should do the show on this or the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, is because it seems like a lot of people are very interested in what's going on with Binance. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to go kind of backwards onto what we were talking about yesterday.
But on October 10th, there was the flash crash caused by a software glitch at Binance. And there was an auto deleveraging event. People were just, margin called. To the tune of about $28 billion. We know some of the entities that were caught up in that. They were caught flat-footed. And we think that is just now washing through the system. So if you're looking for something that has weighed on it recently, we do think that happened.
So I stand my ground that if you're looking for someone to blame right now for the current bear market, the current, last three dips, we can pretty safely say it's coming from Binance. Now, I did the whole CZ Binance saga, watched the Monday show. I followed it up on Tuesday. That's why I didn't do today's show, but there is some more information. And here, just to start, just to back up Kathy Wood's claim here, we have this chart here. The last three, crashes in Bitcoin, Binance has led the way in spot selling. And guess what? Binance is still selling. I saw another chart. Apparently, Binance sold $1 billion in Bitcoin. They bought 100 million. And then I believe it was yesterday, they sold another billion and then bought another $140 million in Bitcoin. So look, Binance is dumping on us. And you can see the timeline. Binance is this line. I think it's what is this yellow? Yeah, yellow line here. And every time they're dumping coin, the Bitcoin price is getting nuked. And so, you want to point at a culprit right now. It's very easy to point at Binance. Now, Binance has been in a lot of hot water. There is a lot of talk about Binance essentially going down, being FTX 2.0. And I want to, I think, highlight the FUD from reality. As I was saying yesterday, it would obviously not be a good look if Binance went down. It would really hurt the whole industry. We would be in a prolonged bear market for a long time. So here's Crypto Quant, and it goes FUD versus reality. Binance shows no signs of stress. Reserves hold near 659,000 Bitcoin. Net flows remain normal, and reserve movements sit at just 0.6%, nowhere close to the negative 12% panic withdrawal seen post FTX. So let's go through some of these charts. Bitcoin exchange reserve, Binance, price is black, exchange reserves is blue. So yes, we have seen a lot of coins leave the exchange. Really, in context of how much Bitcoin they actually have, it's not on the platform. It's almost insignificant. I think it's that it's somewhere between 0.3% of reserves left. So you're not seeing a mass exodus. Yes, you are seeing a lot of FUD. Yes, or rather, you are seeing a lot of people on Twitter say, I'm closing my account. I'm taking my Bitcoin off. There has been a lot of panic. And I think this is, maybe it's because of Bitcoiners being burned so much in the past that when you see something that's concerning like this, you panic first, you freak out, you get your coins off the exchange. So the point from yesterday still stands. Take your Bitcoin off the exchanges, whether it's Binance or everyone else. All right, next chart. We have Bitcoin exchange net flow total, Binance, the price and exchange net flow. So you are seeing an outflow. It's not, historic outflows from Binance, but there's people taking their coin off exchange, which I would say is a good thing. It's not necessarily saying Binance is going to blow up. It just, hey, people are finally taking their coins. Whatever it takes for people to take their coins in the custody, I'm kind of all for. Anyways, Bitcoin, again, Binance monthly net flow to reserve ratio. So they are seeing an outflow. That much is true. There is an outflow going from Binance, people taking their coins off the exchange, but not necessarily enough to warrant an FTX 2.0 conversation. So yes, Bitcoiners like to freak out about this. This is one of our biggest concerns in Bitcoin. We've seen this play out multiple times. It's been the catalyst for multiple bear markets, for multiple prolonged bear markets, which is probably why Bitcoiners panic very, very early on this. Now, after yesterday's show, I was chilling at my house, and I got a text from my boy Sal, the official trainer of Bitcoin. And I told him I would tell you guys that this is his idea, but it does make a lot of sense. I was talking about, on the show yesterday about this concern. Are we seeing a bank run on Binance? It seems like there is a bank run going on Binance currently. Obviously, it's not a massive bank run. They still have reserves. But we were texting back and forth about, who would benefit the most from CZ being taken down or Binance being taken down. And as Sal was saying, he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Wall Street is trying to discredit CZ, to put it nicely, to, essentially sideline Binance. Because as we're hearing from the Trump administration, or rather most of the officials that are pro-Bitcoin and the Clarity Act itself, a lot of the conversation is this idea of onshoring a lot of the quote-unquote crypto exchanges. Now, what would this usually look like? Obviously, you'd like to think that it wouldn't be character assassination. You think it'd be a competitive drive to prop up something good in the US. It's so beneficial on a regulatory front that people would use that instead of using Binance, which is offshore. I believe it is still, I could be spreading fake news here, but I believe they're registered in the Cayman Islands. And the idea is essentially like, who would benefit the most? Probably Wall Street. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Wall Street attack on Binance right now to do two things. As we've been hearing Larry Fink talk about, as we've heard JP Morgan talk about recently, there is a few concerns. Onshore, the crypto casinos and Bitcoin exchanges to the US, and of course, neuter the leverage in the market. Now, Binance is both of those things. It's an offshore exchange. It does allow leverage. And so, again, usually when you start to think in game theory terms, it's like, okay, who would benefit the most from this? It would be the Wall Street banks that are now trying to launch products in Bitcoin. So that could be the potential source for a lot of this coordinated FUD campaign against CZ, against Binance. And then, of course, everyone else on Twitter that just gets kind of caught up in this, that, they get emotional. They're like, I'm trying to protect myself and get my Bitcoin off the exchange. Now, of course, this conversation is still ongoing. There is disgruntled Binance customers. They are saying, hey, man, this does feel a lot like FTX. Even some of the tweets that we're seeing coming out from Binance, they do sound a lot like the same stuff we heard from Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX when we saw that collapse happen. So, look, as Kent said yesterday, it is almost like, hey, CZ might be a pirate. He might not be the most ethical, Bitcoiner crypto shill, but he's our crypto shill. And it was really making me think that, and I told Luke this morning, and I got some shit for it. I'm like, at this point, I'm not really even that mad at shitcoiners. I got my stripes attacking shitcoiners in 2018. That's how I became a Bitcoiner. But where we currently are, if you zoom out a little bit, we are in the midst of a war, a rhetoric war, a meme war, and of course, a financial war. Who is going to control Bitcoin? Is it the users of Bitcoin, or is Wall Street going to come in, get a lot of coin, kind of centralize the control of Bitcoin? And with that all being said, it does make me feel like I'm not really here battling shitcoiners. Like, yeah, they're shitcoiners, but in the grand scheme of things, they are Bitcoiners to some extent. And we are kind of on the same side. So with that being said, I'm like, maybe CZ isn't that bad of a guy. Maybe he's our asshole. Maybe he is on the front lines of this monetary war between Bitcoin or the crypto at large versus the fiat dollar, the fiat Leviathan. And if Wall Street and the institutions and the backers of fiat currency and TradFi is attacking, for lack of better terms, one of ours, I think I'm on the side of CZ at this point. I know he's a scammer. You could say he's a shitcoiner, all that stuff. But we are in a war right now. And if CZ goes down, if Binance goes down, that's going to be bad for all of us. So as we're seeing, not only in Bitcoin or crypto right now, but in the culture at large, there is a divide and conquer tactic going on in the cultural zeitgeist. And it just makes me think, like, we have to take our own side. It is Bitcoin, or again, I hate using crypto, but it is Bitcoin / crypto versus fiat money, versus the fiat war machine. And with that in mind, I think the purity tests that I grew up out of, I think they are unnecessary hurdles for most people. They don't need to be complete. Like, people coming into Bitcoin don't need to be complete Bitcoin purists. Like, all I want for people to do, all I want for the average normie to do is get some money in Bitcoin and then take that Bitcoin off the exchanges. And if you do that, then you're a Bitcoiner in my mind. I know I've participated in purity tests. I will probably continue to participate in purity tests. But if we want more people to get in Bitcoin, then we got to, in some respects, minimize all of the hoops they have to jump through. I just want people buying Bitcoin, protecting themselves, and taking that Bitcoin into self-custody. We got to refocus who is the real enemy here. What is the real battle going on? It is Bitcoin versus fiat. And if you're a Bitcoin adjacent at this point, as long as you're not actively trying to cut Bitcoin at the knees, then I would say that we're probably on the same side. We probably agree on more than we disagree. You can have fun with your shit coins as long as you look at Bitcoin as the big daddy kahuna in this whole thing, that everything you do outside of Bitcoin rides on the coattails of Bitcoin. Then I think we can align and be like, all right, we're battling Wall Street, we're battling the institutions, we're battling the fiat system. Now, maybe that's an unpopular take with people in the chat, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. I don't think Binance is going down, though. When I was seeing all this stuff last night, I'm like, man, I had a very low percentage in mind when I thought, will Binance go down this year? Seeing some of the more, I don't know, hysterical tweets, like, it's kind of raising. And if this is Wall Street trying to take down Binance and onshore into the US with potentially monstrosities of regulations coming, I don't know. I'm kind of okay with Binance continuing to do what it does. So throw tomatoes all you want. That's my stance right now. All right, let's get into speaking of institutions, let's see what they've been up to. We haven't really covered the institutions recently on the show. Got some interesting news. They want Bitcoin exposure. So if you're not buying Bitcoin right now because you're scared of the price, the institutions are. Don't get left behind.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin Citadel, Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
As we're gonna keep repeating this all month as we do this promo. So the code in the ad is not up to date. We got a new one for you guys. I believe it's just for the month of February. It could last longer, so I wouldn't wait on it. But if you use the code SIMPLY99, you will get the $99 BitKey which is more than the 20% discount. Of course, we are still doing the BitKey giveaway on our Twitter. So if you haven't done that already, we are going to announce a winner on Friday. One of you guys, lucky viewers, lucky followers, is going to get a free BitKey. Again, just go to Twitter, find the BitKey post. I think it's our pinned post right now. And, just follow the steps. And one of you guys is going to get a free BitKey. But if you, you don't want to take the chance, this is the best price you're going to get a BitKey. Use the code simply99. Okay. So let's continue the conversation about what we're seeing from Wall Street. It's not the biggest news here, but it is showing you what's going on. And I know a lot of you guys in the chat are, strategy holders. You guys exposed yourself to me finally. Pause. Wait, pause. Hey, yo, chill off the okay, pause. Anyways, we saw UBS, which is Switzerland. I believe it's Switzerland's biggest bank, but, Swiss bank UBS group. They have extended their MicroStrategy holdings. So again, this isn't buying Bitcoin directly. Usually from the institutions, we've seen them buy ETFs or MSTR, which you could look at as, a Bitcoin exposure product. And so here we go. UBS boosts stake in Bitcoin treasury firm strategy to $805 million. UBS Group significantly increased its investment in strategy, raising its holdings by 3.23 million shares. This move brings UBS total stake in strategy to 5.76 million shares, valued at $805 million. Now, other news coming out of UBS this morning is that UBS, again, Swiss bank, it is an institution. It may not be Wall Street, but they are continuing the conversation of allowing Bitcoin, allowing their clients to use Bitcoin and crypto, though they are doing what I pointed out on the show many times, that when these institutions first dip their toes into Bitcoin, they usually do it in such a way where you could say it is a little bit elitist. So let me read this a little bit. UBS CEO details crypto plans following report of Bitcoin and the mother of all shitcoins trading for wealthy clients. And I think that's the big takeaway here. We saw this happen in Russia with their bank. I believe it was like Silver Bank Spur Bank. I think I'm saying that right. And we saw this actually play out in the US last year as well, where when the big banks kind of got into Bitcoin, they were like, look, we're going to do like this test pilot here where we're only going to allow our wealthy clients to invest in Bitcoin. Whereas that really does, I don't know, it is very contrary to the Bitcoin ethos. It's permissionless money. Don't really need the bank's permission to buy Bitcoin. But I know a lot of people do kind of wait until their bank allows them to buy Bitcoin, which I think is a mistake. But there is a little bit of signal here. Obviously, they had a Q4 earnings on Wednesday, and the CEO said that they are in fact going to, or they're considering allowing Bitcoin trading for their wealthy clients. Going further, here's a pretty good quote. And it goes, as digital assets become a more relevant part of the financial system, we are taking a focused client-led approach. You got to love the double speak here from the institution's client-led approach. Not like, hey, we're just going to let our wealthy clients buy Bitcoin first. It's a client-led approach, okay? Going further, it goes, quote, we are building out the core infrastructure and exploring targeted offerings from crypto access for individual clients to tokenized deposit solutions for corporates. Dude, tokenize all the things. Anyways, going further, the next generation of investors expect a seamless technological experience, and the emerging of digital assets and tokenization is creating opportunities to fundamentally change how we operate. So I guess tentatively they're embracing Bitcoin. Sort of. It will change how they operate, to say the least. Anyways, going further, in this context, clients will increasingly place an even higher premium on trusted advice from partners who can offer true global connectivity, access to innovative products, and seamless cross-border solutions. UBS is uniquely positioned to convert these trends into stronger profitability and long-term value creation. Man, gotta love the corporate speak here. They're very good at corporate speak, right? What they say. I mean, let me reiterate. True global connectivity, trusted clients, access to innovative products, and seamless cross-border solutions. They're uniquely positioned for this. Dude, it's a corporate PR. But anyways, the trend remains. The trend continues. The institutions want Bitcoin, or rather maybe Bitcoin exposure. They are still a little bit concerned about how the products are released. They are a lot of times using this idea of, customer protection, that this is why they do things in such a way where they only allow a limited amount of customers, clients get into Bitcoin if they hit certain tally marks. Usually it's, as it's been framed in the past, if they have a high risk profile, if they have significant portfolio with them, then essentially they just let the rich guys come in. If you've proven you can deal with the risk, then they're going to let you use Bitcoin, which, as I said a minute ago, is contrary to the Bitcoin ethos of it's permissionless. You don't need your bank permission. But again, with that being said, the institutions very clearly want Bitcoin. Now, the real game, as I've been saying for a while, is, do you give them your Bitcoin? As much as they say, hey, we're the trusted institutions, we're the best situated, best positioned for you guys to buy your Bitcoin from, they are obviously trying to get market share. Yes, for better or worse, a lot of people still do trust the banks. They still do trust the brand names. They still look at whatever their portfolio manager says. They're still looking for cues from, quote unquote, the smart guys in the room to tell them if it's time for them to go into Bitcoin. That might be the human flaw in this, but they're trying to get into Bitcoin. They want Bitcoin exposure. So even though we're seeing the price dump right now, and we're 73K or 72K right now, the banks, the institutions, Wall Street, they're still positioning themselves to offer Bitcoin products. Now, I would say as a conspiracy-minded individual, though, at this point I just think I'm right. I'm fact-based. I just see the patterns and I see where things are going, and I think, where's the ball going? What are they doing? You could say that maybe Wall Street is nuking the price right now. As I said a couple of weeks ago, it does seem like there is a coordinated FUD campaign right now to get a discount from all-time high to shake you out of your bags so that they can position themselves and take the coin off of you before we do see an epic Bitcoin run. I saw a good tweet. It's like, Wall Street is trying to shake you out of your bags before we see hyper Bitcoinization and the super cycles continue, or rather begin. And I don't have proof that this is happening besides, a couple of various dots here, data points to make my point for this. But intuitively, on a gut level, this, I think, is what is happening right now. It does seem like we are seeing the market makers, a la Binance and other market makers. We saw Jane Street do this last year. It does seem like they are trying to dump the price so that they can get a better position, so that they can acquire more Bitcoin. Now, this does get into the other conversation. I think I brought it up yesterday, which is, it is interesting, or maybe I didn't bring it up on the show. Maybe I said it before the show. It is interesting to see that when Bitcoin dumps, everyone starts yelling price manipulation. And that, I don't want to necessarily be that guy. But we never say price manipulation when it's in our favor and the price goes up. So maybe this is me coping right now. Again, I don't want to believe we're in a bear market, a prolonged bear market. I don't want to believe that we're going to see another 70, 80% correction. That just doesn't make sense to me where we currently are. So again, I could be coping on this, but intuitively, it does make a lot of sense. It's only been really 1 year, if not less than 1 year, since all the banks and all the institutions are able to get in Bitcoin. They still are probably waiting on the sideline for, quote, more regulatory clarity before they actually deploy significant capital, or rather a significant percentage of their capital into Bitcoin. But it does seem like there is an active attempt to keep the price down, to shake you out of your bags, to bore you to death, to enter into some form of maybe a bear trap, bear market, and then eventually, as we saw with gold, once they either can't necessarily control it, or rather once they want to allow it to run, then we'll get into, you know, some bullish price action. So personally, that's where I feel we are, but we are coordinated fun. We're just, you know, we're just hanging out, man. We are just hanging out right now, seeing what the price is doing. Let me see. I guess John's joining. So he's a little late here. Maybe did I go faster this? All right, I'll pull up one more thing. I was going to talk about this. They always do that. I'm seeing some crazy behavior. We should call them out. I don't know what that is. Dude, dumpster fire. We're barely above last cycle's all-time high. This price action's ugly. Do you guys want me to chart? Should I chart boy while I wait for John? Let me pull up this chart. This is or actually it's not really a chart. I really like this tweet here. Where'd it go? Damn. Here we go. This makes sense to me, and I think John just popped in. So John, yeah, he's here. Okay. Let me just pull up this chart, and then we'll go into the culture, and we're going to talk with John real quick. John, hit me in the private chat. Let me know if you can hear me and all this stuff. And I'm going to show him one chart, and then we are going to transition. This chart here from Axel, I don't even know who this guy is, BitBlaze. This is, he's put my thinking and what I've been saying on the show into a beautiful chart. And he says, we're not in the old 3 years up, 2 years down cycle anymore. He says, look at this chart. Since 2024, it's been short bull and bear markets back and forth way faster than before. So is this where we are, guys? Is this what's playing out? I really want to believe. I'm Mulder right now in X-Files. I want to believe that we are seeing a new market structure and we're not going to see the price dump. Anyways, maybe I'll cover that a little more on tomorrow's show. Here's our last ad, and then we'll chat with John.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high-performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank. And you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. And join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
What's up, John? How you doing? All right, John, before you go, I didn't bring up this chart, so I'm gonna bring this up here a little bit so you guys can see this. I'll talk about this more for you guys tomorrow, but since I forgot to pull it up, here's a chart. Anyways, John, thank you so much for coming on today, man. I'm super excited. I actually, well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of this mullet you got going on. This thing's amazing, man. Strong vibes.
Thank you, bro.
Right here. Strong vibes with the mullet, man. But anyways, how you been, man? It's been a minute. Let's talk about
it's been good,
man. I know the last time you were on, it was a couple of months ago. You were definitely talking about different projects you were doing, stuff that you're collaborating with. Obviously, a huge push in the idea of a Bitcoin circular economy, and then you come out of nowhere with probably something that our audience might not have the budget for yet, but in the future,
not yet.
In the future,
well, especially not right now.
Yeah, not right now with the bear price or this dump right now. But anyways, what am I talking about? I do have your tweet here. Let me pull that up. So I have the video here. Let's pull this up. I'm not going to play it. Let's just have you talk over this. So John, what are you working on, man? What should the people be paying attention to?
Yeah. So just this last summer, I started working with Quantum Jets, which is a really well-established private jet company. They've been in the business for over 25 years. They've worked with royal families, heads of state, and global business leaders. And they were interested. They have a new app that's really cutting edge for the industry. It's bringing an antiquated industry to modern day times where we can actually book things with our phones. So they made it so that you could book a private jet through your phone with their app, and you can browse empty legs. You can create custom charters, and the app is really versatile, but they wanted to accept Bitcoin in the app. So that's what I really helped them with over the past 6 to 7 months. And we kind of went through and met with a bunch of different providers, but we landed on the absolute best partner, and now it's working. So it's live. You can now book any kind of jet to fly anywhere in the world using Bitcoin with the Quantum Jets app, which is pretty awesome.
That's what's up. You don't have to answer this, but are they using like BTC Pay server on the back end, or did they do their own infrastructure?
No, we're partnering with a third party.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're partnering. Yeah. So it's actually the same company that that Jeff Bezos' space company is using for their Bitcoin payments.
Okay.
It's yeah. So it was, in order to do it, in order to get it started, they are wanting to transfer the Bitcoin directly into fiat to pay for the operations of the jet. Working on, eventually, I think we'll be able to get them to accept and keep more of their Bitcoin and start to put it on their balance sheet as well.
Yeah, let's go. That's awesome. Just for future reference, how much is a private jet currently?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it really varies depending on where you want to go and what size jet.
I'm in Miami right now. What would be coast to coast? What would be coast to coast right now?
Yeah, coast to coast, you want to be in a comfortable, if you want to be in a comfortable heavy jet, like a G550 or G5, you're going to be paying around 70 to 80 grand. It's not cheap. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have to wait till $1 million Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, but the cool thing about the app is there are empty legs that are opening up between Miami and LA that are a fraction of the price. So I've seen it $30,000 to $40,000 range where you can fly from LA to Miami on a heavy jet. And so, you know, when you factor in the fact that you can bring say 13 other people, maybe 10 to be more comfortability, and perhaps split the costs, then it like makes a little more sense for a designated trip, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
So I'd agree.
wait,
What's
go
that?
on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
I was just saying, if it's something that you want to just kind of explore and see like what the pricing actually is, that's why kind of the entry level is the empty leg marketplace, where you're able to just get on the app and see what sort of flights are available, and you can set up city pairs to get notified on like when some of these flights are going, and when they're going between your favorite cities.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Someone in the chat asked, you said like $80,000 a flight. Like, how much is that in sets? That's a whole coin right now, guys. I don't know if it's a little more than a whole coin right now. So,
Yeah.
it's good to have the infrastructure out there, but I think this might be something that builds in the future where, as the price goes up, it makes a lot more sense for probably our audience to be like, yeah, maybe this is aspirational. Like, I'll make so much money that, yeah, whatever, $40K for a flight here. I got to get there. I'm making more money on the back end, so I'm good to go. But that was
Yeah.
cool, man. So
Yeah, it's definitely
going back a little
aspirational.
bit. Yeah, going back a little bit. You said you've been working with them for a long time. Like, how did that orange pill process go? Like, obviously they were probably skeptical at first, and now it just they launched it, so it made sense to them.
Yeah, well, the conversation started actually. I met the CEO, who is Jan Pritzker's brother-in-law. So Jan was, the CTO of Swan, and we both lived in Southern California in Orange County, so decided to get a beer and catch up. And he talked about wanting to accept Bitcoin. That was a couple of years ago. And for them, I think it was there were some major questions around like, well, how do we safeguard against like money laundering type things? How do we make sure that people aren't going to just use Bitcoin to book a jet and then cancel it and get a refund in fiat, and then all of a sudden, hey, we've got cash. So there are just basic questions around it, and it's different booking. It's a different booking process because the payment is final, and there's no, and it makes it easier in some sense because there's no risk for a chargeback or no risk for a for a cancellation on the payment side of things. But it also makes it so that you can't pull payments for incidentals and things. So as you can with a credit card.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like working out the details. But for these guys, they saw the value. They saw, they see the value of Bitcoin. Both CEOs, I think, own Bitcoin and see the long-term value of it. So on that side of things, it wasn't, and it wasn't as hard to convince them of the market viability of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, not to cut you off, John, but it is almost like the Fight Club meme, like we're everywhere. And I think lot of Bitcoiners, we're so caught up in our echo chambers and our circles on Twitter that you forget, like, there is a lot of Bitcoiners that aren't on Twitter in high powered positions that actually do influence, the conversation, and they're actually in powerful positions. And again, maybe this is aspirational. All of us will eventually, or maybe not all of us, but hopefully some of us will get to that point at one point in our journey in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will unlock our freedom and, our mobility.
Yeah, it's a matter of like time and money comparison and trade-off. And those of us, people who have been buying Bitcoin early on, for them it's going to come a lot earlier, to where the challenges of commercial travel, sitting through lines at the TSA and getting some ways abused by the overreaching security state. For them, they're going to value their autonomy and their privacy.
I think we lost you.
These much more expensive free jets, but there are also smaller charter operations that you can utilize, and that's what we use in Argentina. We actually booked a private plane. It was a twin. It was a propeller engine, propeller plane, to fly us from Buenos Aires to Cordoba, and Cordoba to Bariloche, and Bariloche back to Buenos Aires, and that was about 14 grand for the entire journey, and we split it, between 10 people on each flight.
Got it, man. Got it. I do want to pivot this a little bit, because this does go into what you've been talking about on the show, Citadel theory. You do have this trailer. So do you want me to play the YouTube video? I think I can make this work. So let me, wait, wrong one. Here we go. Let's play.
Yeah, if we have time, for sure.
Yeah, I got time. We'll play this for you guys. Is this a premiere? Are we doing a premiere right now? First live premiere here. Let me, here, let's
This is the teaser, but okay, yeah, this is the teaser. You guys played it.
Okay, we'll play it, and then you can explain what it is. Can you guys hear this?
Yeah, I can hear it.
You're a civilized human. Life is good. You're making money. You're eating out with your friends. The system works, but something is off. It's like you're in some kind of box. You have a life, you have peace, but do you have freedom? In this film, we adventure through Argentina asking that question. We ask one another, and we ask the friends we meet along the way. What does the fight for a free life look like in our day and age? Is it increasing our wealth, owning more land, optimizing our health? Or is it something even more primal to our existence as humans? In our search, we find a common catalyst in our recent history that accelerated each of our individual quests for freedom.
The Italian government tonight put the entire country on lockdown.
Throwback to the COVID lockdowns of 2020. The veil is torn. You learn the ugly truth, that your peaceful life is a reward for your compliance. Your primal nature has been subdued. With this kind of domestication, you might as well be a brain in a vat. You're faced with a choice. Do you acquiesce into mind slavery or break free? You choose independence. You reconnect to God and His calling on your life. You achieve financial sovereignty. You strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind. But alone, you're still weak. So you band together with a tribe. You push one another further than you would ever go alone. You learn the power of interdependence. You experience the power of a strong community. Support this film and join our community of freedom enthusiasts at citadeltheory.com.
Let's go. So, this is a teaser. I'm guessing Citadel Scouts is it live? Can people go watch this?
They can. I mean, that's the teaser. So that's live. Yeah, we're doing a full film series. Yeah,
You're in the Matrix a little bit.
You know, just share that.
Can you hear me? I think you might be back. Yeah, you're back.
Leave and come back in, or
No, you're good. You're back. You're back.
oh, I'm back. Okay. Yeah. So we took that trip through Argentina, and I think found just a great. A lot of us came together on that like pursuit of personal freedom, personal sovereignty, and that's what brought us together around Bitcoin. And you know, for many of us, that's a solo journey. It's learning about it online and trying to, you know, stack as much Bitcoin as possible. But what you realize is that like we still need community, and we still need each other, and being able to travel and move together with like-minded people was really just a powerful experience that we wanted to share. And yeah, especially going and exploring Argentina during this time, where the question of like, what does a free country even look like, is totally up in the air, you know? And so Argentina, it seems like, could be an option of like a new way of doing a free country, or what there's a promise that what the US once was or once had, maybe could be continued to be built in some parts of Argentina.
Yeah, when were you down there? Was this 2024 or 2025 while you were filming this?
Yeah, it was the fall of 2024.
Okay. Yeah, they were there was a lot of uncertainty in Argentina around that time, so it's probably an interesting view into what was happening down there. And obviously from like a Bitcoiner's perspective, Bitcoiners do have this optimistic view of life, and I'm guessing the orange pilling was fun. And I saw a lot of people that I know personally in that teaser there. So definitely be looking out for that. So can you give the audience an ETA? When can they watch the full Citadel Scouts?
We're targeting I should have something by fall of this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have the fulls.
All right.
We'll have a film. Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, so just to wrap up today's show, John, if people are interested in what you're doing, they can see it here, but for the audio listeners, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on Twitter, John Chenot on X. You can also go to citadel.com, and that's going to just show a lot more of what we're up to and what the whole project is about. Yeah, reach out to me on X, on Instagram. I'm AguaBra. If any of you guys are on Instagram, if you want to follow me there. And yeah, I would love to connect with you and chat, and just always down to meet more Bitcoiners and yeah, explore this crazy world that we live in.
To say the least. And it really feels like it's getting crazier by the day. By the minute, it's getting crazier. It's
and you guys have
sometimes.
Yeah, you guys have your finger on the pulse for sure every day.
Well, we try, you know, we try to parse through all the noise, but even we're human. We get it wrong sometimes, you know, but I think we probably, as Bitcoiners, you, us, you know, the chat, we probably are more aware or closer to, you know, directionally correct on what's going on. And there's still a lot of people that are just, I don't know, sleep at the wheel. So we got to all do our part here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you guys and just the education, the constant, you know, signal that you guys bring. You guys have been there
appreciate
in the
it,
dark
man.
times and the high times as well.
Well, it looks like the dark times are back, right? So I guess we got to double down.
Hey,
I guess we got to double down. Yeah,
for sure. That's what that's the beauty of it all. So we get to enjoy the dark times.
Yeah, that we make we make the bear market just hopefully a little bit more fun. Anyways, John, thank you so much for coming on today, man. Let us definitely come back on the show when you got some new updates, you got some new adventures to talk about. Really appreciate it. And hopefully I see you in person soon, and hopefully you still have the mullet, because that's a strong mullet you got going right now, bro. Like, that thing's rough. That thing's tough, man. But man,
thanks, man.
It's been too long. It's been too long, John. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, guys, you already know the deal. We are at the end of today's show. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you guys today. Come back tomorrow. We'll be live roughly 12:40 p.m. ish, unless I have some technical issues, but we'll be back live. We're live Monday through Friday. On that note, guys, I'll see you in the morning. Peace.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.